Good morning. Today is 18th of May 2020. It is going to be the last video, and this is about associations. This association series of videos, it is kind of like, say, a teacher's point of view of 30 years top management experience in what has happened. And this one I'm going to make today now is about buildings. So you are going to work and live in a building all your life. And so I believe it's interesting to find out how many members there are in the building. I will give you today an example of my office building throughout 30 years being owner of 210 square meters. For example, we only use the water for the toilets, and we pay 500 euros for that, which is crazy. We have been complaining for 30 years, but the monopoly of the public institutions and avoid that we say count how many liters of water we use, and it is really very expensive. Perhaps we, instead of using water, we have to use milk or petrol in the toilets. And so this is a situation that is happening throughout all the buildings. First of all is that in this Albia building in Bilbao, we have the Bilbao Water Consortium, which is owned by the Bilbao Council, which is, in other words, owned by the Basque Nationalist Party, which is owned by the Vizcay province, which is owned by the Basque government. So all these institutions have huge amounts of buildings. So the funny side about this video is that it is a building, but you can extrapolate and you can calculate 50,000 buildings in Spain which are public, are governed by the same principles of expending 20 times more they can because, well, if you are smart enough, you can figure it out. If you are a partner of them, they will get you bankrupt. Yes, this is how they work. They don't really care. They have no compassion about using 50,000 buildings and not sharing even one. Yes, they can create conflicts of interest because the labor union agreements they have are public, and when they occupy, yes, occupation, a private building, they only work 6 hours per day. And it's very funny because I never stop working. So then my workers will one day say to the neighbor, hey, I should be only working also 6 hours because you're working 6 hours. I should be getting 70,000 euros because you're getting 70,000 euros for doing nothing. Yes. And this is the kind of conflicts you have in neighbors. So you have to be very careful. And you judge, you have to clarify if it is a conflict of interest. If they have public buildings, they cannot be working in a private building. This is a conflict of interest. This is not legal, my friend. Then, of course, in the association of the building, there is rules and regulations. Number one, everything is non-physical. I wrote an email to the president, which is the HR manager of the Bilbao Water Consortium. There's still no reply after 2 months. This is the way they work. It's not working at all. It is going against the utility. We are asking questions like, why are you passing me the 4 million excess building refit if it only is 1.5? Why are you passing all these refit excess cost if there is no clear contracts and we have not been informed about it? And simply they just don't reply. this is how the public institutions work in this country. You are going to be very poor if you do not make in your contract that no public institution can join your private building. If this is the case, get out, because they'll make you bankrupt. Yes, there is a lot of small investors in my building, which we control 25% of the building now. And we have united ourselves and we have gone to the justice. But there is nothing we can do in the justice in Spain because the justice is also public. It is another building. It is another public occupation building. So if you talk to one public institution and then they occupy another building, so how can you ask for rights? This is not an association that is going to work. So the first thing we must do is to clarify who is the member of this building. Because if there is public institutions in this building, get out and run. Very simple. And this is really a conflict of interest. And this is how we have been working for the last 30 years. So we have united our sides and we have 26% of the votes. We have asked to find out what are the refit works they are doing. We have no reply at all. They simply don't give any straight questions. They don't write. The public institutions don't write. They talk and have meetings. That's how they need to have 50,000 buildings, because then they can justify having 100,000 buildings, because then they must have meetings to have more buildings. And this is how it is funny. But if you look at city centers, if we all these buildings sold them, I calculated about 20 million per building. So if it is 50,000, it is something like 200 billion. But here, the calculation, the opportunity cost is not for this association the cost of selling the buildings, but in other words, it is the cost of maintenance of the buildings. Because if in my building we have, say, a refit of 1.5 million euro, and you can see the Albia Building 2 and the Albia Building 1, you can see the photos and all that. And so if this refit, it is 3 times more. Imagine all the refits of all the public buildings in Spain. Guys, I mean, we need 500 million workers, slaves, to pay for them refits. So the best way is not only to make 200 billion by selling all these public buildings, but number 2, to stop the refits, because the refits in all these public buildings, like we have here in Bilbao, the Basque government, the president and the council and the diputación, and then we have the delegación del gobierno, government delegation, and then you have the tax, and then you have merchant maritime, and then you have so many, all the councils. We have about 500 councils in the Basque country, only imagine in Spain. So it is not only a question of the ×3 refits, but it's a question of how many people occupy these buildings. In my building, we have, for example, 4 security guards. It is only 1 required if we did have some digital control. And this is the kind of overspending. I mean, it is amazing how it is working, the association in the building side. So we have made extraordinary requirement for annual general meeting. I have also some videos in this channel so you can learn how to organize annual general meetings, and you can really ask yourself as candidate then what can intrinsic value I add to this association. We have really explained how to get into this, but if you are fighting against the public sector in this country, there's nothing you can do. The only thing they are interested you do is not work, so they can pay you the unemployment benefits, and then they have a vote. That's all they are interested. They are not interested in you working. And if you are working, like a lot of owners in this Albia 2 building in Bilbao, you can see it today, you can go inside and you can see how they threw all the granite in the floor, 3 centimeters, very, like it was a 50-year-old building, 3 centimeters granite, and they threw it away. Just like that. Now they want to change for some other thing. It's very funny. It's like, it's a massacre of utility. They don't care. I mean,